Hi everybody, just want to show you. Today is the 28th of October 2022. I've been doing a lot of work for the past week trying to get the Solicitor General of Ontario on board and the people at Waypoint on board in regards to the unusual thing as far as what's it called? Collusion, coercion, or complicity. I don't know. It could be a whole bunch of C words, and I'm sure they're not nice. What they're doing to the 60,000 murdered by fentanyl and opioid poisonings in the past 6 years in Ontario alone, not to mention the known mass deaths from fentanyl and the weapon of mass destruction that it is, carfentanil and fentanyl. So what is it? Crime against humanity? Eugenics program? It sure looks that way. Why does it look that way? I'm gonna call a duck, right? Until I know different. And they're calling, at the coroner's office, they're calling addicts. I mean, okay, we know that people have addiction problems, but it's like saying if I have cancer, you're gonna call me cancer. Hey, cancer. Or, hey MS, or hey MD, muscular dystrophy, or, So I'm thinking, yeah, that's a derogatory term. I never knew that. And then a woman pointed that out. And I figured, yeah, you're right. She lost her son to the same thing. In a different way, but, poisoning of fentanyl or whatever. And the whole thing is, we know it's poisoning, we know it's homicide, and they're ruling it suicides. And nobody's questioning it. I don't know. And so when I talk to them at the corner, and they're calling people with addiction addicts, and they know better. They must know better. They must know that that's a derogatory term. That's like Black Lives Matter. It's nothing in comparison, really. When you're looking at the deaths, I mean, the massive deaths from this drug, and we're completely dumbified by it. Like, people are saying, well, they did the drug. No, I believe MS, the drugs that were coming in the 80s and 90s were from Russia. We know they were tweaking the MNR gene in the drugs. They were putting something in the drugs to make them that much more deadly, that much more addictive. Because you have super addicts, you have so many addictions, like the spike from it. If you put it through a logarithm, AI logarithm, or a metadata, you would know right away that this is the truth, that the fact is people are dying from deliberate overdose, murder of all the youth. But it changes their brains as well, because we see the psychosis before the deaths. That wasn't happening before. Usually you have an overdose death, but you're seeing a really wide-ranging polysubstance abuse where they have to take any drug in order to alleviate the pain they're suffering from the lack of dopamine in their system. So we know it's a dopamine depletion. We know that. We know the governments aren't doing anything about that because there's more and more increase in deaths. Younger and younger people, your children are at risk. You are at risk. If you touch the substance, you could die. They don't screen the items you get back from your dead children to make sure you don't die. They send your children without help, even though they're supposedly getting help, and they put it all on the parents. It's the parents' fault. They weren't strict enough with the kids. They didn't tell them not to do drugs. My son had no choice at 16. He was underage. How do you explain that? Anyway, I gotta go. It's so depressing because we have to fight the system that's probably got a eugenics program going. We're none the wiser for it. We're just idiots. All of us. Dumb. The shame that humanity has come to this and that we let this happen to us. Say no more. Quote the Raven, nevermore.